Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Aftermath. So a very wild ride of an episode, it's just kind of like the show's weird, and it's just like this show finds ways to continue to be weird and depressing as hell too. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Martin dying is like, really? First you had Sally dying, then you had Devin dying, and now you have Martin dying. It's like nobody can be happy. It's like screw everybody. It's like first you screw over Karen, then you screw it over Brianna, now you're screwing over Dana. It's like, it looks like more so than anything, it looks like the women in their family get it the worst. I mean, it's like, holy crap, that just sucks. Especially because there was that whole moment earlier in the episode where you had Karen being like, oh, don't, come busting in on him, start asking Martin all these questions, and feels like, oh, how do you feel about, why are you with my daughter? It's like, oh, she's smart and everything. And then, Dana kind of responds the same, like, oh, yeah, that's kind of the reason why I like him. And he's like, well, because I'm funny too. You think you're funnier than her? He's like, yeah, I think I am. He's like, I think she's funnier. So it's just kind of that nice moment, and being like, basically, hey, the end of the world is here. We don't really know how much time we have, so be good to each other. And it's just like, she's just kind of like that, that bonding moment of just being like, all right, just kind of, normally it's a dad's job to kind of do this, but I'm here to kind of bust your balls a little bit. Just look out for my little girl. And it's just kind of like a beautiful moment. She even asked Josh, she's like, so you know about that? He's like, well, yeah, I thought it was pretty obvious. But nevertheless, I was actually kind of surprised it didn't come up. It doesn't seem like Dana's necessarily harboring any feelings for what went down last episode. You thought she would have been. I mean, Brianna's definitely in her same state as last episode, because it's like, yep, Devin's dead. And obviously she blames herself more so than anyone else, because it's like, for her, she's the one that brought Devin along. She literally took him away from everything that he's known his life. He would have been a lot. I mean, granted, yes, the people he was around, they were a little crazy. They were, being led by a skinwalker and everything without realizing it. But nonetheless, they were content with being who they were, and they were fine. They were surviving on their own and whatnot. He was kind of, in her mind, he would have been happier. Which is kind of say, like, hey, who knows? I don't think he necessarily would have been happier. I mean, he fell in love with you and everything. So it's like, there's the, the very romantic side of my brain that's like, hey, love's worth dying for. I know it's stupid and very cheesy to say, but at the same time, it's like a life with, a life where you got to experience love, versus when you kind of didn't, it's, like I say, realistically, it's like, no, being a human and everything, there's probably that part of your brain that's like, no, I choose survival over love any day. But still, it's just that, that part of your heart is just kind of like, yeah, you find that love, you fight for it, for it with everything you've got. And if you die, then you died swinging, so that's how I interpret that. But it's just kind of like, he would have been better off, in her mind, staying where he was. So it literally just sucks, especially because her and Martin had that whole conversation. He finally said, like, oh, I love you. She's like, well, let's trail that back a little bit. You just, isn't love a little bit of a strong word? And then he uses Devin as an example. He's like, Devin and Brianna knew each other like, what, a week? And he loved her so much. He was willing, I mean, he did what he did because he loved her so much. He didn't want to hurt her. And it's like, so it's kind of like, we don't have a lot of time in this, life. So it's kind of like, hey, let's make that, best of it. I mean, it's like, it kind of, the whole experience, that world ending and everything kind of expedites your feelings a little bit. Cause it's like, yo, ain't no time to be messing around. It's like, we could die at any moment. I already like you. And, what's there between, there's not that much of a leap between like and love. I mean, well, there probably is. I mean, really depends on the person, depends on who the person you're with. And it's like, if you and the person click, then it's like to love is kind of just like that. But, like I said, even more so under the circumstances of like, hey, the world is ending. So, it just sucks because like Brianna was just barely dealing with the factors of Devin dying. Like, Karen still hasn't 100% dealt with the whole Sally thing. I mean, she's not going as wild as she did last episode, killing people left and right like she did last episode. I did like the fact that she kind of brought up, he was like, we have to, Josh was like, hey, we got to talk about that. And she's like, oh, like the time you talked about the people you killed? He's like, you knew about that? She's like, yeah, Dana told me like that night. I was like, huh. And so, I mean, she actually congratulated him. It's like, oh, yeah, I mean, you did a good job. That was a good plan and everything. But it's like, she still kind of avoided talking about it. So, it just, just overall, like I said, like the show gets weird, which I'll get to the weird aspects, but also super depressing. It's like literally back to back to back episodes of just everybody losing someone important to them. I hope for Matt's sake that he doesn't get close to any particular woman, because if he does, like she's almost guaranteed to die. That suck balls. And then basically introducing that dude, Monk, weird dude. I just love the bullets are flying everywhere. Like there's a sniper nearby, which is kind of like interesting that it just happened. I mean, it's the end of the world and everything, and people just go a little nuts because they feel like, well, the world's about to end, so I've got nothing left to really fear or worry about or care about. So they're kind of just go a little nuts because it's like you're out in the middle of nowhere and there just happens to be a sniper. Okay, and you have that dude just standing there, and he's just standing there. I was like, okay, so either we're gonna find out he's super crazy because he's about to catch a bullet in the head, and then all of a sudden you see boom in the distance. I was like, did he just kill that dude with his mind? It's like, why? Okay, everyone else was flipping out a little bit, but I'm like, it's like, did you just kill him? It's like, he just killed a dude with his mind. How did he do that? Once again, the show just being extra weird. And then the fact is, he was able to heal up Josh. I mean, able to kind of sense around. It's like, oh, the bullet didn't hit any vital organs. Dug in with his bare hands, found the bullet, pulled it out, put some herbs on Josh's wound, and then later on when he looks at it, there's not even an entry wound from the bullet. There's no scar or anything. It's like it didn't happen. So it's like, okay, I hope we run into this guy again soon, because there's only like 3 episodes left this season, maybe after this. I don't know. I think I remember seeing it's only 10 maybe, which, I think that's typically 10 or 13 is typically how, sci-fi does. I mean, like more recently does its shows and stuff like that. So, but then there was just that whole situation of like being like, okay, so actually we got to go back to the volcano. It's like, go back to the volcano. I mean, because interestingly enough, like, because Josh, because I don't remember if I brought this up last episode or not, but there's the whole like, oh, follow the radio signs, because it's kind of like a prophecy or whatever, because it's like the guy talking on the radio station and stuff like that. He's actually telling you where to go. Is like, yeah, you go east, you're going to die, basically. And then Josh is like, oh crap, we're going east. It's like going west would mean we'd have to go back towards the volcano. So I guess in some sense, that's what it was kind of leading to that. Essentially, I forgot what it was that Monk called it. It was some kind of thing that basically is like they had to find that and that he could possibly stop the volcano. Basically, him, Karen, and Soldier Girl, like what's her name? I forgot her name. Because interestingly enough, we ended up learning about a little bit about her in this episode. We ended up finding out that basically her son died like a year ago before all this started. Basically, he was sick, but he was getting better. She went out for deployment, but while she was away, he got sick and sadly died. And she's basically saying like she never actually dealt with. She was actually telling Brianna, like, hey, you're in mourning. You just lost your boyfriend. You need to deal with that because I haven't. Which plays a big part in the episode when she hijacks the whole situation out of nowhere. I guess it's because like, hey, this is kind of like a whole magical thing. If it's meant to stop a volcano from exploding, I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to go see my son, because she still misses him and everything. I mean, it's only legitimately been a year, and like she said earlier, like I guess that was kind of foreshadowing. Because the fact is that she hadn't dealt with her grief, and I guess really it just all kind of resurfaced again. I guess that's her main reason for wanting to go along with Karen. But the fact of the matter is, she's like, no, I want to see my son. You come near me, I'll shoot you. She even shot the monk dude, which is just like, really? You see what under the circumstances you are? Like, because Karen herself wasn't 100% in belief. The only reason why she went was because Josh believes so hard. It's because Josh is the only one kind of looking at things from things are in a weird, because to me, Josh is looking everything because Karen's like, I don't believe in all that kind of spiritual aspects. It's like, you see all the crazy weird stuff that's going on. Like, it's okay to be like, I'd be like, Josh is opening up all these theories. I'm like, you know what, Josh, you do you, because you're going to lead us to safety, because it's like, you're the only one looking at this. Like, some people might look at it. I think Karen, being in her mindset is just kind of like very rational about things. It's like, take things as they are. Maybe there's something else to it like that. Maybe science can explain that. I don't care. I'm just dealing with this situation as realistically as possible. But it's like, because she's like, I'll leave the whole spiritual stuff to, Josh and everything. I mean, I guess in her line of work, it's just kind of like, for her, it's just kind of like, essentially, you live or you die. Like, spiritual stuff kind of comes second. What comes first is survival. But the fact is that she pulled a gun on camera. It's like, I'm gonna do this, and then she's like, oh, she's like, what's happening? And all of a sudden she gets sucked into a hole. So I don't know what the hell that's about. I mean, granted, Karen was running down the mountain and everything. I mean, the volcano when it was going up and everything, and she ends up falling into like a underneath the ground, I guess some kind of like tunnel system underneath it or whatever. It was pretty epic seeing her jump and it's kind of exploding behind her and everything. I loved it. I also like the image of her just like outrunning a little bit of like the dust cloud from the volcano and whatnot. But it's like, where did she go? Because like you actually saw like a little magical aurora, because it was like, it just kind of clicked into Karen's head, because it's like she partway believed it, but she didn't 100% believe it. And seeing that, plus the fact this monk dude wasn't dead, she's like, okay, how are you alive? You got shot. What's going on here? And basically he kind of offers this like, hey, you can come with me. She's just like, but what about my family? Like, what are their chances to survive? He's like, they might survive, they might not. I honestly don't know. And she's like, hey, I'd rather go with my family. He's like, they're good as dead. She's like, well, I won't know until I go see with my own eyes. He's like, that's a very good answer. He's like, you're coming along nicely. Now, I don't know how to interpret that. Is this supposed to be some grand thing of being like, your family is special? Now, is it just Karen specifically, or is it just the family in general? It's like, you are special. You're meant to do something during this whole crazy situation. You're the ones that are definitely going to survive. I mean, because as we can see, literally, I mean, granted, well, I take that back, because Sally got it. So it's kind of like, maybe it's not, I mean, maybe it's the immediate families, like mom, dad, brothers, and sisters. So it's kind of like, okay, of course they're going to like, maybe they're meant to make it through. I mean, I don't know. We'll see, because eventually down the road, if it gets to the point like one of them drops dead, it's going to be like, okay, that kind of throws it out. But it's like the way he was talking about Karen like that, like this was meant to be like that she's important. Because he kept talking about the whole thing about like he had just arrived in that vessel and stuff like that. Part of me wanted to believe him immediately. Part of me was like, he's just nuts. We're going to end up finding out he's just a crazy dude. Because the people that Josh and the others met, I was like, oh man, it's going to turn out that he was actually with them, and it's just like he's completely off his rocker and everything. But it's like, no, they're completely unassociated. Like I love the fact that Martin was just kind of like, yeah, let's leave them alone. And Josh is like, no, we should help them. It's like, dude, we don't know what they're about. He even brings it up to Dana later. You can't trust people. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, your dad's a fantastic dude and everything, but this is a world where it bites you in the ass to trust people. I mean, because it's like, for one, you don't know who's possessed or not. It's like, you didn't even bother even thinking about it. You did. Let's not forget, you found out as like, all right, fever heads are very good at possessing people and making it seem like they're normal. So it's kind of like, you would think you would have thought more about that, but I guess it's because they were a pair, and it just kind of, because I mean, have you ever really seen, like, we've seen them attack in packs and whatnot, sure, but it's like just off on their own, kind of like, because normally it's kind of like skinwalkers on their own being like, oh yeah, like I'm normal, haha, like the preacher and everything from or where Devin was from. So it's kind of like maybe they don't really clump together when they kind of become more when they pretend to be human. I don't know. But the moment he was suspicious of them, so was I, especially because they had that mentality of like, yeah, that guy we were with, yeah, we left him for dead. I mean, was he really dead? I don't know, but he was good as dead. It's like he fell and everything, so it's like he was most likely dead. The fact of the matter is, the dude wasn't even really that remorseful. The girl was a little bit more remorseful, but still. That stopped them from trying to steal from them and everything. Because in their mindset, they're like, hey, you want to stop at this facility, try and like escape the volcano? There's not enough oxygen to worry about that, because it's like, we need to get as far away. And Josh is like, dude, you're not going to make it. Even if you take our vehicle now, you won't make it. And he's like, oh, I don't care. I'm still going to run away. Got a pickaxe to Dana's throat. And then you have Martin being chivalrous. It's like, yo, you got my girlfriend and everything. So I'm going to try to calm the situation. Telling the lady, she's like, okay, you're not going to shoot us. You're not killers. You're climbers. And then what does the lady do? She pulls the trigger, ends up killing Martin. So that super sucked. And like always, they kind of had to go slow-mo with it too. Just like with Devin, just to kind of, just like, in your face about it. I was so hoping that something would happen where you'd find out like, hey, monk dude, wisp over there or something. Like when he was talking to Karen, I was like, oh, somehow he'd like leave his current body and inhabit Martin's body to kind of keep him alive. Like that'd be his new vessel or something like that. Keep Martin alive in that sense. But hey, you never know. It could go that route next episode, but highly doubt it. But that just sucked. And then you had Matt lose his shit because it's like one of his sisters is already brokenhearted because she lost the dude that she loved last episode. Now his other sister is like brokenhearted because of people. I mean, because Devin's situation is just sad in itself. It's like he can't do much about that because it's like Devin killed himself. But in this situation, the people that killed the man that what his sister loved is right in front of him. So he's like, nah, F that. I'm gonna get some justice. Goes up, starts beating the hell out of the dude, and then tells the woman, give me your belt. And she's like, what are you about to do? He's like, I'm about to hang you. I'm like, wait. He's not like, he doesn't mean hang her. I was like, he's just gonna hang her up by her arms. It's like, and starts wrapping the rope around her throat. I'm like, nope, he means hang her. I was like, dude, Matt just went crazy. I mean, granted, it's just like he sees his sister so broken heart in front of him. He's like, he has to do something because it's like, yo, you don't mess with my family, dude. Not only did you threaten her life, you took away the person that she cares about most. She's a wreck now. She's brokenhearted. It's like, screw you. But Josh had to talk him down like, yo, don't do this, Matt. I mean, because I look at it as like this. Josh, if he has to stain his hands with blood, he'll do it. I mean, because really, we haven't really actually seen that side of Josh, whether he's actually, it seems like, when he was having that conversation with Karen, it seemed like he might be a little remorseful about what happened. Granted, he knew it was kind of a kill or be killed type of situation. He knew that even if they let him go, they weren't going to let them go. They would eventually, at some point, come after them and kill them. Whether it was going to be like, oh, after they got what they want, they were going to kill them anyway, just kind of make a point and whatnot. So if he has to get his hands dirty, that's fine. But he won't let his family, in particular, he won't let Matt kind of get his hands dirty. Because that's the thing, though. None of them have actually had to do it. Like, put down a person. Sure, well, I mean, granted, Matt did. But like I said, obviously under circumstances, because he thought, it's like, oh, yeah, he was possessed. But it's like the dude he shot was just schizophrenic and whatnot. So... but they've never actually had to just outright put down a person to just like straight up kill someone, like, under normal circumstances, just out of revenge and hate. And it's just kind of, you have Josh being like, you know what, the worst fate we can do to them, we could get justice, is by sending them out there on their own. It's like, you don't get to go in the shelter with us. You get to go out there on your own. And I hope the volcano burns your asses alive. You get stuck under like a large amount of molten lava and whatnot. So, I mean, granted, the volcano went off, so there's that sick side of me that's kind of like, hey, justice for Martin, because they're going to get it hard. So there's that part of my brain that's kind of like, I feel a little sorry for him because it was just kind of like an accident. I mean, mainly, I still blame them. I mean, they're not blameless in this. It's like, dude, you didn't have to do this. Like, if you were that adamant about it, you should have just gone in the facility with them. It's just kind of like, oh, they would listen to your story. It's like, oh, from the very beginning, they were like, oh, you're stupid. We should drive as far away. It's like, dude, like, they gave you the option too. They were like, hey, we're going to go to the shelter. If you don't want to, just stay here. But it's like, you try to jack the people that help you. It's like, screw you. Like, you kind of deserve it. Like, karma's a bitch. And you learned that the hard way. I mean, it would suck if we end up finding out that they're still alive and everything. I'm sure that would piss Matt off to no end. It's just like, really? You hurt someone that we cared about and you just get away from it like that? So I don't know. But at the end of the episode, we saw them kind of separated from Dana. She went like down a different path. They're inside. So, like I said, everyone's kind of separated. So I'm very curious to see where that all goes. It's like, will the facility hold up to the volcano? What about Karen? What about this monk dude? What other surprises are waiting for us in this coming episode? There's a next coming episode. I mean, because it's kind of interesting when you think about it. The two people that's there to kind of help are both gone now. I mean, the soldier lady that was kind of her own thing. I'm still curious, like, will we get an answer to that or not? But Martin, man, like I said, I'm holding out hope that something happens with that whole Martin situation. I mean, they can't possess dead bodies, can they? Skinwalkers, I don't think they can, so there's no chance of that. But like I said, you don't know, like, maybe the monk kind of takes his vessel and she's like, oh, Martin, you're alive. It's like, oh, sorry, I'm not Martin. I'm the monk dude that you met before. And it turns into a whole thing. That's a little wacky, but still, I mean, it's already naturally a very wacky show. It's just, I'm very intrigued. Like I said, let's hope next week's episode is not nearly as depressing. I mean, it's not even, and it's not, you know what it is? It's not even just like depressing throughout the episode. It's literally the last few minutes of the episodes. It's like we leave off on the most depressing thing. Character deaths. It's like at the end of that, 2 weeks ago, it was Sally, ended on Sally's death. Last week's episode ended on Devin's death. In this episode, there was a little bit more after Martin's death, but still it kind of ended on Martin's death. So that just kind of sucked ass. So. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.